Hi, this is Heidi from Garden Crossings, and last year I did a side-by-side comparison video of the Summerific Hibiscus, and I thought, you know what, they're gorgeous right now. Let's do an updated video. I know there's some new varieties that have been added into here. It might be a little bit later in the season, so maybe they're blooming more. So just, you know, you can watch the old one and watch this new one and compare the two. But let's take a look at all these beautiful hardy hibiscus. So before I get started taking you on this tour through this beautiful hibiscus trial patch, I'm going to say that I'm going to look for the names of the plants. Most of them are labeled, so I'm going to maybe have to dig in and look if I'm not sure. Also, I'm going to say some of these varieties have not been introduced yet. So if I just kind of skip over a plant, that means it's not been introduced. So there is kind of an upfront warning, and let's head and take a look. So let's start off here with this beautiful one up front. Beautiful black foliage, clean, crisp white blooms. Like usually the white flowers would have some sort of a red or burgundy on them. There's nothing to be seen on this plant. This is a variety that's not named, so I don't have a name of this one yet, but something to maybe look for in the future. Next to it looks like basically an identical looking plant, green foliage, crisp clean white flowers. The difference is the dark foliage and the green foliage, but again, no pink on any of the plants. Again, I don't have a name here. The next one we're showing is very, very dark foliage. This is the Hibiscus Summerific Edge of Night, and this one is just starting to bloom. Look at that beautiful black foliage. And then the bloom is a beautiful kind of a pink with a little bit of magenta swirl going on there. This is the darkest of all of the Summerific to date hibiscus. This is a little bit shorter variety. And something I should point out as we're getting started here, if you want this dark foliage color, these have to be planted in a full sun garden. So if they're planted in a shade garden, well, they won't do good in a shade garden. But if you have them in a part shade garden, they're going to look green. Another thing to point out is if you get shipped a hibiscus from us in the greenhouse, they also may appear green, and that's because of the UV protectant in the plastic of the greenhouse that doesn't allow the UV rays to penetrate through. But once it's out in your garden, within a couple of weeks, you'll notice the leaves will start to darken up and be what you're expecting them to be. Next one here is the Hibiscus Angel Eyes. It's got more of an olive green foliage on it. This plant is about 4.5 foot tall. Beautiful white blooms, a little bit lacy on the edge or ruffled on the edge. Magenta eye, that just nice kind of the water bleed out is gorgeous. This is a little bit bigger in comparison to some of the other hibiscus we're seeing as far as the height of the plant. Really beautiful flower. Next one here is the Hibiscus French Vanilla, and this is a later to bloom variety. Most of these we're going to see are going to have flowers, but this does not. So this is going to be a kind of a creamy white flower. You can check it out online, but a little bit later. So if you're looking to kind of stagger your hibiscus blooms, this would be one you could plant for a little bit later color. Next, this is called Hibiscus Dark Mystery. I've never heard of this one before. I've never seen this one before. So I'm glad we're doing this video because here we have something popping in that I've never heard of. Dark Mystery has white flowers with that magenta eye, the dark black foliage. I'm trying to compare it to something, but really there's nothing I can compare it to that looks the same. So Dark Mystery, watch for this one, who knows, in the coming year or years. Next one we have here is the Hibiscus Ballet Slippers. This is part of the Summerific series. It's got that olive green foliage, and we'll go in for a closer look here. White flowers where kind of the edges are just kissed in pink there with a pretty solid magenta eye. It's also pretty as it's just starting to open. That's the neat thing with these hibiscus flowers. They only last about a day, maybe two, but even from the opening of the bud stage to when the flowers are in full color, it's simply gorgeous. Next, we have the Hibiscus Summerific Cherry Chocolate. This has got olive green foliage with hints of that deep purple going on. These flowers are really large. This one's kind of an oldish one. Let's look at a fresher flower. The veining, magenta veining, goes all the way out to the edge of the flower, and the petals are very, I'm going to say, puckered, which I think is kind of a cool look about it. Here's a cute little bud, but a lot of flowers right now here on this cherry chocolate. Next, we have Hibiscus Starry Night. So in the intro, I said we're going to look at all the Summerific hibiscus. There's all the Summerific hibiscus are in here, but there's also a lot of other hibiscus as well. So I apologize. There's going to be some what we're going to call branded, which is the Proven Winner brand, along with some generic, which is the Walter's Garden brand perennials. All of them are gorgeous. So Hibiscus Starry Night has this deep dark foliage. Beautiful flowers on them. Large flowers. It kind of has like the edge has a little, pink spots on the edge of the petals with veining all the way to the edge. These are really big flowers, about 8 inches across. Next, we have the Hibiscus Spinderella, which is part of the Summerific series. Spinderella has kind of that olive foliage color, little bit of darkness going on. Spinderella, kind of think of the color kind of spinning, like think of it on a color wheel as it spins. You can see that pink and that white there with that gorgeous dark eye that pretty much stays contained to the center of the plant. Most of these plants are all about 4 foot tall and 4 foot wide. So I should point that out. Some of them are going to be a little taller, a little wider, but if you want exact heights on them, go to the website gardencrossings.com and you can check out what the actual heights are to see the different variations. I'm kind of panning around here looking at this one trying to find the name tag, so give me a second while I dig in and look. All right, so I apologize. I do not have a name on this plant. I'm seeing a tag next to it that says Perfect Storm. So there's possibility this is Perfect Storm, and if that is the case, obviously it's going to be a later to bloom variety. I know Perfect Storm does have the dark foliage, so the dark foliage we're seeing does make sense. So this very well could be Perfect Storm. The next one we're seeing here, there is definitely not a name tag. So this one I do not have a name for it. And I'm not recognizing it because these very, very heavily puckered flowers don't look familiar to me as being any of the Proven Winner Summerific ones. So maybe as I head on the back side, I'll find a name. But right now we'll just look at it as a beautiful rose mallow with a beautiful pink flower. Next in the lineup is the Hibiscus Airbrush Effect. And this has got green foliage, really pretty pink flowers with just kind of a soft spray of white there in the center. Just kind of a psh of color. I don't know, that was a weird description, but really another beautiful hibiscus with a green foliage. Next we have the Hibiscus Summerific Evening Rose. Deep dark foliage, beautiful solid magenta pink flowers with that deep dark magenta eye. Really a beautiful specimen here, and the foliage is just so stunning and dark. This next one here is something they're looking at in trial. Doesn't have a name yet. Let me know what you think. Let's take a closer look here at the flower. Get rid of some of these old ones, but yeah, take a look and see what you think. This is a nice light pink with green, kind of olive green foliage. Next we have Hibiscus Summer in Paradise, olive green foliage, big magenta blooms. Blooms are a little bit larger than what they were there on the Evening Rose, but this is more that olive green foliage. Next is a variegated hibiscus. This one is called Summer Carnival, and it's got the green foliage with kind of the little touch of white on the edge. It's not blooming yet. There's also little kisses of pink on the edge of the foliage. I believe when this one does bloom, it has a pink flower on it. Variegated foliage, a little bit later to bloom here. But what do you think about variegated foliage in hibiscus? I'd be curious to know your thoughts on that. Next one here is Hibiscus Candy Crush, and looking at this plant confirms what I was thinking and saying when I was doing a video in the Proven Winner trial bed. So one thing I noticed with this Candy Crush is that it has a little bit tighter habit, and it's a little bit more columnar. I mean, not like tall columnar, but it's a little bit taller than what it is wide. I like the habit of this. It's nice and tight, and I like that it is the taller than what it is wide. This is part of the Summerific series, Candy Crush. Beautiful pink flowers, a little smaller than what some of the other hibiscus that we've seen are. But still, look at the flower coverage here. I mean, this plant is just fully loaded with blooms, and there's a lot of other buds just waiting to color up. Next we have is Hibiscus Berry Awesome. This was one of the more original hibiscus in the Summerific series. Kind of that olive green foliage, little kisses of purple here and there, not much. Really bright, I'm going to call it more of a dusty pink actually, opposed to a bright pink, more of a dusty pink flower with that nice magenta center there. Next is the Lilac Crush hibiscus. This was a new one here for 2022. This is part of the Summerific series. It's got the green foliage, and the flowers on here, it's kind of unique. Like as they start and open, you're going to see some darker shades, but then as they fade and age, they take on more of that lilac purple color. So you're getting a little bit of different colors going on all on one plant. Holy cow, look at all the buds there on that Lilac Crush. This is just going to explode with color. It already is, but I mean, there's so much more going to happen here. Beautiful plant. Next, we have another hibiscus that's in trial. This one's called just simply Hot Pink. It's a little bit more compact. It's got a little darker foliage, darker pink flower there, really heavily ruffled and overlapped. What do you think of this one? Next is Hibiscus Midnight Marvel. Dark foliage, not quite as dark as Holy Grail, but nice dark foliage with beautiful, beautiful, deep, dark red flowers. A little bit more of a open habit, you might say, because I want to show you it side by side with Holy Grail. Let me back up a little bit. So Holy Grail is on the right, Midnight Marvel is on the left. Holy Grail has a much more tighter habit, although the overall plant size is very similar. Holy Grail is a lot tighter. Holy Grail has much darker foliage on it, near black, with the beautiful red, crimson red flowers. All those buds, man. These plants, I tell you that the whole new breeding with the hibiscus rose mallows is for them to be an indeterminate bloomer, where they have buds up and down the stems. A lot of the old varieties, the color was all at the top, and when it was done flowering, I mean, that was all you had. But with these new varieties, there's just so many more buds with the way that they've bred them, that it's just a plant you can enjoy for a long, long time. Now here's another one that looks like it might be not named yet. Dark foliage, a little bit smaller pink flowers, but again, heavily puckered. Those last three that I've told you that have not been named, the thing I'm noticing to the commonality of them is the flowers, although they're different, they're all very ruffled and very puckered. And I think that's kind of a neat, different look. So I'd love your thoughts on this one as well. Next, we have the Hibiscus Blackberry Merlot. And this variety here, I'm not familiar with. Dark flowers, like almost even like a wine color. So I'm going to say darker than Holy Grail, but they're different. They're just, I don't know, they're different. This looks like to be more of an upright type habit, a little bit more upright, not quite so mounded. Really a beautiful plant. Next we have Hibiscus Vintage Wine. The habit of these plants is what's kind of setting them apart as being something different. A little bit later blooming here on the Hibiscus Vintage Wine, because obviously you can see it's just starting to bloom. Here's another new variety for 2022. This is the Hibiscus Summerific Valentine Crush. It's got the green foliage with the red flowers with that really dark magenta eye. Valentine Crush has a similar habit to, I think it was Candy Crush was the one that I said had the more columnar habit. This one is a little bit more round than columnar, but it's still not quite as round as the others. So more tall than what this is wide. This has been doing really good for us here in the first season. People have been loving the Valentine's Crush color, and I think it's just a beautiful plant. I hope you enjoyed this video doing kind of a side-by-side comparison of all of the Hardy Hibiscus that we carry all the Summerific ones, and there's a few of the generics that we also carry. But I think the side-by-side comparison is nice. That way, if you want to skip ahead through the video, you can kind of maybe take a screenshot and then take another screenshot, or however you want to do it, and just kind of compare the different plants. See, you know, maybe what habit you like the best. Maybe it's the flower color you're going after, or maybe it's the foliage color, or maybe you're just like, you know what, I need one of everyone. If you've got the space, go for it. But these like to be grown in full sun locations. They're doing gorgeous out here. Like I said, the more sun they get, the better the black foliage will be on them. So I hope you enjoyed this tour here today of the Hardy Hibiscus trial bed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave your comments below. And as always, you can always shop online at gardencrossings.com. If you're new to this station, feel free to subscribe, and we'll send you updates on all of our newest videos. Thank you for walking through the garden with me today. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.